Well, if you are one of the millions of Americans that are struggling with debt, you'll definitely want to pay attention to this morning's guest as he returns again as part of our My Empowerment Wednesdays series. He has been helping our viewers with practical tips to improve their lives the last few weeks, and today he is focusing on finances and specifically debt. Please welcome back to the show this morning, Boaz. Good to see you.
Thank you, Danielle. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you because I really want to get right into this because we were talking off camera. This is something that so many Americans are struggling with today, and I know you want to show our viewers the power of being debt-free, but unfortunately, when it comes to debt, a lot of people are still struggling with the same debt today that they had like 5-10 years ago. How big of a problem is debt in our society?
It's huge. It's huge. You know, the average person has 8 to 10 credit cards. The average person is in debt anywhere from $10 to $20 to $30,000. Some people, when you add student loans, you're getting up to $100,000 or more. It is a huge problem.
When it comes to debt, what are some of the problems that can occur?
Well, I used to be in debt. I'm not anymore, so I feel the difference. I remember when I was in debt. Now, my idea of high finance, Danielle, years ago, was to pay my Visa bill with my MasterCard.
Oh, boy.
Now, that would be funny if it wasn't sad.
Right.
You know, and when you had all those credit cards, you thought you had a lot of power. Look at all of this credit I have. That's not our money. And I would max out my credit cards, and it resulted in stress. Have you ever been in debt?
I have been in debt, and it's not a good feeling, I have to tell you.
Did you feel the stress?
I felt a lot of stress, and I felt a lot of, how do I get out of this? How do I begin to get out of this?
Exactly. It seems like a deep hole.
It seems like a deep hole.
And most people have no idea how they dig their way back out of it.
And I tell you, there's a lot of anxiety, as you talked about, involved in that as well, right? And
exactly.
So, yeah.
Why are so many people on medications against anxiety? Much of it deals with money, and much of it starts with debt.
I wanted to talk to you about this because as overwhelming as debt can be, there is kind of a light at the end of the tunnel because you believe there are some simple, specific steps that people can take to help them get out of debt. And I know our viewers are kind of, their ears are open because they want to know what these tips are. Walk us through this.
Precisely. Here's what I had to do. All I can do is tell you from my personal experience. I had to have a little plastic surgery done, and I'm not talking about the kind with a doctor. I'm talking about cutting out the credit cards.
Did you cut them up?
I actually cut out my credit cards. I do not carry a credit card. I operate on a debit card, which means real money. And I have no problem as a speaker doing seminars all over the world. I rent cars, I'm in hotels. My debit card looks like a credit card. But when it's at zero, I don't spend any more. There was a time when we had to stop at zero, but with credit cards, we could go all the way to the poorhouse in the minus.
It's true. But you know why that is? A lot of that has to do, Boaz, with the fact that so many of us tend to impulse buy. Because impulse buying is a real problem that many of us have, and we feel that when we're using credit cards and they've got this $10,000, $15,000 limit that we can keep going. How do we stop that, though? How do we stop the impulse buying?
I understand, because that's why mine were maxed out, because I was impulse buying. So first, I got rid of the credit cards, but secondly, if you really want to buy something, take a picture of it. Most people on their phone can take a picture of something right on the spot. Print it, put it on your refrigerator, and leave it there for 30 days. And at the end of 30 days, if you still want to get that, go ahead and get it. I bet you will look at it and say, what was I thinking?
Let me tell you why I'm laughing, because that dress is not going to be there in 30 days. That dress is only going to be there in 5.
Now
so I got to get that dress now.
We have taken care of you. No. But if you have no credit cards, because credit cards look like Monopoly to your mind.
Right.
And you know, they let you put your NFL football team logo on your credit card so you can cheer for your favorite team while you're going poor. So if people have a stack of debts, let's say you and I, we have a stack of debt, 10 debts. Here's the way we pay them off. We make a list from the smallest one to the biggest one, and we make minimum payments on number 2 through number 10. We focus on the smallest one first. Most people do this wrong. They look at the biggest one. That'll take 3 lifetimes to pay off. But the smallest one is a goal I can see. I can pay off a couple of $100.
Yeah.
Then I take whatever I was paying on the first, add that to the second one, and that's the incremental way that we move up to eventually work on the big one. It gives us momentum.
It gives us momentum, but here's the thing. I think as a society, we've kind of come to accept debt, right? It's kind of been one of those things that, yeah, I've got debt, and so does everybody else. But what are the rewards of being debt-free? And I know that you said you are debt-free today. Why do you feel that's so important?
Because debt can cause divorces, it can cause heart attacks, it can cause all kinds of severe problems in our lives. And so we're really causing some of our own problems by being in debt. And how can we complain about the government being deeply in debt if we're deeply in debt? So the opposite is also true. when people are out of debt, for example, if somebody in our audience has lost their job, how big a difference is it if they're applying for a job and they're deeply in debt and desperately need this money? And how different would it be if they were out of debt and had thousands in the bank? The confidence level is totally different.
And I wanted to ask you about that confidence level, because being debt-free has a lot to do with one's confidence as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because just think about it. If anybody's in our audience today and they are $20,000 in debt, if we can snap our fingers and say your debt is gone and you have $20,000 in cash in the bank in a savings account, the entire focus of that person's confidence has just changed dramatically.
Absolutely.
Money gives us power. And it doesn't mean the money's the answer to everything, but it gives us confidence when we have it and when we don't owe a bunch of it.
Great advice, especially in this day and age when so many of us are trying to get out of what the recession did to our finances. So thank you so much for sharing this, because I'm sure a lot of viewers will be able to relate to what we've talked about today.
Absolutely. And one other thing that can help our viewers, I promote this particular book.
Yes, I listened
Dave
to him.
Ramsey,
Sure.
You've heard him on the radio. He is wonderful. He is wonderful. He has very practical ideas on how to get out of debt and stay out of debt. I think this is a great resource.
Wonderful, wonderful information, and you're a great resource, and we're so glad to have you here on the show.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And be sure to keep watching our My Empowerment series with Boaz for more of his positive advice. You can also subscribe to his weekly Power Notes by visiting thebalancingact.com and clicking on the Boaz link. Now, by doing so, you will also receive his daily success formula for free.